A silent precharge, healing, ability regen, 100 damage bolts, and the fastest handling high-impact fusion rifle we've ever seen in Destiny 2. This is the Eremite, the new craftable fusion rifle from Season of the Witch. The Eremite is a solar high-impact fusion rifle firing 5 bolts of burst that do 66 damage each in PvP. Important to note, it's the first solar high-impact fusion rifle since Iota Draconis in Season of the Lost, which will come into play later for PvE. It's also the first high-impact to have Slickdraw, Heal Clip, and High Ground, and it's the first high-impact ever that you can craft without doing any raids. Many are going to write this fusion off due to no accuracy perks like Under Pressure, Firmly Planted, or Rangefinder, but y'all, I found what makes the Eremite tick, and you're not going to believe how. It can max out its range stat without sacrificing any handling and still feel like a dream. Just look at this snappiness. Let's start there with PvP and what I found for it, and then come back to PvE because I'm hyped for this Crucible discovery. I haven't been this excited for how unique a fusion feels in a long time. Now, we're not getting this feel from the stats, but the base stats on the Eremite are pretty good for a high impact. Compared to Iota Draconis, it's got slightly more range, aim assist, and recoil direction. It's no Glacioclasm in terms of range stat, but it lines up almost perfectly with Loaded Questions, so that gives you an idea of feel. I will say, with the range stat, I was hitting close to 21 meters in real live Trials of Osiris matches with Eremite. I went back and measured the damage in a private match to be sure, and my testing this season also showed that a max range Glacio only goes to 21 meters. So what I'm saying is, don't get too hung up on the range stat here. It's definitely good enough. Finally, the 75 recoil direction stat is a standout for me on the Eremite. It's just very vertical and you can use barrels to push it even further. I mentioned Iota Draconis early as the other solar high impact, and there's another similarity with that fusion in that Eremite has a super quiet precharge. Something about the other fusion rifles out there just has a higher pitched tone, and both the Eremite and Iota Draconis have this lower hum of a precharge. I've had several other PvP players say they've noticed this, and a silent precharge is a huge buff to the function of a slow charging fusion rifle. Now for the perks. While I'm going to focus on the one thing this fusion can do that nothing else can, I want to acknowledge that Eremite can imitate other well-known event fusions, and so you can craft what you want here in case you didn't get a good enough high impact through RNG. For instance, the Eremite has offhand strike, allowing for easy eliminations past 20 meters just firing at the hip. But Wizened Rebuke has offhand strike with successful warm-up for great synergy, then Glacioclasm has offhand with more range and high impact reserves. So if you're using that perk, Eremite is just a placeholder if you didn't get a good one of those other fusions. It also has Elemental Capacitor in the 4th column for a huge 50 stat handling buff if you run Arc, or a plus 20 stability stat if you run Void. But both the Arvindale FR4 and the new Nox Perennial 5 also have Elemental Capacitor, and they have accuracy perks like Under Pressure and Firmly Planted that Eremite doesn't. So it's not something that makes Eremite unique. At this point, I was pretty frustrated with the gun. I just could not find any reason to run it over the other fusions we already have. I had crafted it like 20 different ways, and then I just decided to try it. Slickdraw. Slickdraw is the key to Eremite in PvP. I know. Slickdraw, it doesn't even make sense. I hate Slickdraw on every other weapon I've ever tried, and I'm always saying fusion rifles are all about accuracy. So you would think anything to threaten that would just be awful, but stay with me. It makes this sluggish, high-impact archetype come alive in a way that no other can. Slickdraw gives you 100 handling no matter what else you run on the weapon, plus a 0.95 times animation duration multiplier, which is a scaler that takes you past what 100 handling can even do. The automatic 100 handling allows me to do whatever I want to the detriment of handling because it will always be 100. So I can run extended barrel to bump my recoil direction to 85 and my range up 10 without any drawbacks of handling like I normally would. It doesn't show up on the display, so my Eremite literally says 18 handling in game, but 18 handling does not look like this. You can only see what is actually happening on a site like D2 Foundry. Now with all this, I also spec the rest of the perks out with range, extended barrel, projection fuse, and a range masterwork, as range controls the distance my aim assist and damage will extend to. As of this season, zoom and rangefinder no longer help damage distance, and so the range stat is even more important than it used to be. Per usual, I don't feel like stability is necessary at all. You can control bounce manually, you can't control your damage and aim assist distance like range can. I also feel like high range is helping with the negatives of Slickdraw. Let's face it, everyone has stayed away from this perk because it comes at the cost of a minus 55% auto aim cone size. Now this does not affect your reticle stickiness, and I think maybe that has something to do with it on this fusion. Mouse and keyboard players, y'all are going to have to let me know if it feels the same for you, because in my experience on the controller, if my aim is true, the shots go where I tell them to, and if I miss, the auto aim is not going to help me out. You would think this would leave me feeling miserable on this fusion, but it really does not bother me. This fusion set up this way is true to where you aim it. So if you aren't hitting the shots, you just need to spend more time on your aim with it. I'm telling y'all, it feels solid and I can't believe it. There is even a level of satisfaction with my shots because I'm like, oh, I hit those, and I play it back and I really did hit those. To give a further example of this, you know when a Strand Hunter dodges and puts out their decoy, it can tug at your scope and make your bullets go towards the decoy. I had a moment in Trials this weekend where a decoy went out and I easily took care of the real opponent, and the decoy didn't give me any trouble at all. So there might even be some benefit to not having the auto aim mess with you. Now, you may be thinking, wait, didn't you say other high impacts also have elemental capacitor for plus 50 handling on an arc subclass? They do, but before we get to that, just real fast, if you've been enjoying the Destiny 2 information this channel puts out, be sure you've hit subscribe. Okay, yes, other high impacts have elemental capacitor to help with their stats, but all high impacts have such low handling that the plus 50 handling isn't near enough to come close to Eremite. Not only that, but if you keep the handling up on Arvindil or Nox Perennial, you'll miss out on range stability and recoil direction. So not only would you be stuck on an arc subclass with those other fusions, but the handling wouldn't even get as high and the range won't feel near as good. Slickdraw lets you have it all. The handling range combo is addicting, and we haven't even finished the perks yet. I will say I love running targeting adjuster as a weapon mod and as many helmet targeting mods as I can. I don't know if it's really compensating for Slickdraw because it's different things, but I do know that I tried counterbalance for the 100 recoil direction. I still felt like targeting adjuster was better. For the fourth column, I suggest running this one of two different ways. Elemental capacitor if you're on either void or stasis, and then golden tricorn if you run any other subclass. Elemental capacitor on void will give you that plus 20 stability and plus 25 if it's enhanced. This isn't super necessary in my opinion, but if you're running void, why not take up to 25 free stability? On stasis, elemental cap will give you 20 extra recoil direction stat and 25 if enhanced, which would take you up to 100 recoil direction, while still maintaining your high range and letting you run the targeting adjuster mod. Stasis elemental cap also gives you faster movement speed while aiming down sights, so it just adds to the feeling of speed you get from your max handling fusion. If you're not running void or stasis, I highly recommend golden tricorn. It won't help you get your first shot, but it's a 15% damage buff for 7 seconds after you get an elimination, no reload necessary. It'll help you 3-bolt any resilience level, and it makes up for some damage fall off to help you hit shots that are slightly further than you really should. So it's great for any class, but if you're running solar, you have the potential to get golden tricorn times 2 going for a 50% damage buff. You can 2-bolt with that buff, 100 damage a bolt. Not only that, you can break the range barrier and secure a kill at any distance as long as you land 4 bolts. That will hardly ever happen, but it's possible, and I had golden tricorn times 2 active quite a few times on the day I was running Eremite with golden tricorn. In my opinion, none of the other perks come close to these two setups in PvP. Kill clip only gives you 30 HP, and that's after a kill on a reload. I really tried to make it work running solar elemental capacitor for the plus 50 reload speed along with the reload masterwork, but 30 HP is so minimal compared to the time it takes you to reload this thing, even with all the work trying to make the reload faster. The two pros here are that Heal Clip does work on a Hunter Dodge reload, and it sends out a wave of 30 HP healing to nearby teammates, but the reload has to happen in a short window after you secure the elimination, and I just felt like I was trying way too hard to get it to work for me. Plus, after using Slickdraw, which I felt the bonus of every second, there is no chance I would give it up for something as niche as this. Cornered, don't ever use Cornered. It's just a perk that tells you messed up in your positioning, especially with a high impact fusion. High Ground is a cool little buff. It's enough to help you get the 3-bolt on any Resil if you fire from a higher position, but Elemental Capacitor and Golden Tricorn are going to be much more useful. Finally, Controlled Burst's window of 2 seconds to use is tiny on a high impact, so that's a big not recommend for PvP. Offhand Strike and Pugilist are the two exceptions that I can see someone running outside of my God roll recommendations. Offhand Strike if they just never got another good high impact with it, and Pugilist if you're running a melee heavy build for that 20% melee energy on every kill. Outside of that, run the God roll of Range Masterwork, Extended Barrel, Projection Fuse, Slickdraw, a targeting mod, and either Elemental Capacitor or Golden Tricorn depending on your class setup. I'm blown away. For PvE, the Eremite Solar element comes heavily into play. One, because it's got Ambitious Assassin in either Control Burst or Reservoir Burst, just like Loaded Question, but it pairs with Solar instead of Arc. But two, and more importantly to me, is that Solar has some unique interactions with both high damage builds and the new perk, Heal Clip. Before we get to that second part, quick reminder for those first few perks. Ambitious Assassin lets you get up to 150% of your mag through getting kills with other weapons, which is great for bypassing the slow 22 reload speed on the Eremite. Controlled Burst is great for bosses, allowing you to fire 10% faster and do 20% more damage by just landing all the bolts on your first burst. Reservoir Burst is great for ad control, as every extra shot loaded from Ambitious Assassin will do 25% more damage and give a huge explosion on kills. Now, the stuff that's exciting to me, the high solar damage. Golden Tricorn ×2 can get you a 50% buff for 10 seconds and is refreshed through ability kills. This buff is very easy to keep up with melee and grenade heavy solar builds between Warlock Nades, Titan Hammer Bonks, and Hunter Knives. But it's not just the ease of having that 50% buff up that makes Solar Weapon with Golden Tricorn ×2 special. Solar subclasses can activate the 10% Radiant buff instantly with powered melee kills thanks to Ember of Torches Fragment. And the powered ability is required to activate Golden Tricorn ×2 anyways, so then it becomes an instant 65% buff. And you can refresh Radiant with solar kills on the Eremite through the Ember of Empyrean Fragment. And it still doesn't stop stacking with other things. The new exotic revamps that activate Surge ×4, a 25% buff in PvE that can't be obtained by normal Surge mods, can also be activated on that Golden Tricorn ×2 kill, and stacks on Radiant. Path of Burning Steps on Titan activates Surge ×4 with just a solar grenade kill, and now Foe Tracer on Hunter activates Surge ×4 instantly on any ability hit. So all this stacks together to give you a 106% buff on the Eremite, and it's all activated at the same time. Now, you could just run that with Ambitious Assassin and have all those extra shots in the mag, but we've now got Heal Clip. The healing part isn't necessarily the part I want to focus on. Heal Clip gives you and your allies near you a 60 HP cure whenever you reload after a kill, which is twice as much health as you get from Heal Clip in PvP. The interesting part that I want you to catch here is that the heal is the solar verb cure. Because of that, you can use Heal Clip to activate the Ember of Benevolence Fragment, which gives you a 400% additional base grenade melee and ability regen for 6 seconds. Now combine this whole thing with everything we just talked about with Golden Tricorn, Radiant, and Surge buffs, and you've got heals, ability regen, and up to a 106% damage on all your fusion shots. So with all this, I think Ambitious Assassin and Heal Clip are both great options for PvE, particularly on a solar subclass. I know some love Lead from Gold, and that's here too if you like it. In the fourth column, Control Burst, Golden Tricorn, and Reservoir Burst are all worthy selections. As for the other perks, I wouldn't recommend Pulse Monitor. The reload is so slow on the Eremite, and this will refill your ammo automatically when you get down to 110 health, but you can't count on yourself getting into that position. Compulsive Reloader just feels annoying to try to utilize. Cornered, High Ground, Pugilist, and Elemental Capacitor are just completely overshadowed by the other three great perks in that column. As for my PvE god roll, range is a little important because damage falloff can hurt everything I'm trying to do with the damage, but I also want the fusion to feel good. So I'd go fluted barrel for feel, projection fuse for a little range, and then I'd run a reload masterwork because I'll be using heal clip. That gets me all the team heals and solar synergy ability regeneration because I'll be going solar for golden tricorn in the last column and counting on using solar when I use this fusion in PvE. If I want reservoir burst or control burst on a high impact, I'll just use loaded question. The Eremite really surprised me with the heal clip synergy, but particularly with Slickdraw and PvP. I don't want to take it off because the snappy handling, high range, and high damage just feels and looks so good. The shots are clean and I cannot believe Slickdraw feels this good. Seriously, I just can't believe it. And I'm so glad I gave it a shot. Let me know what you think in the comments. This has been LEGO the Flash. Until next time, GG.